Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Thank you to all our listeners across this great country of ours and around the world. This is Ron Frierson. Welcome to another edition of Focus with Ronnie Frierson. I'm here alongside my co-host and my good friend, Mr. Woody Wilson. Say hi to everybody, Woody.
Happy rainy Friday, everybody.
It's we live in Los Angeles, but it feels like Seattle today. Los Angeles is very wet. We need the rain, so I'm not going to complain. We also tend to show that we can't drive.
Our bad driving skills, yeah.
The driving skills of the people that live in Los Angeles when it rains
horrific.
Is in the toilet. It's terrible.
No, it's
so again, thank you to everyone for joining us on another Friday afternoon. We are very glad that you decide to start your weekend with us. And customary for the show is that I start off with my rant. And this is what I'm going to speak about during this initial quarter of the show, so to speak. And that's it's okay to apologize. It's okay to be sorry for something that you've done and just flat out admit when you're wrong.
You learn that when you get married.
Yeah, really?
You have to apologize.
So this. In the culture we live in today, we find a lot of politicians who have made decisions in the past or people who have said things and they're in the public eye wherein you can go back in time and it's on camera something that they've said, and for whatever reason, if they're proven wrong or the decision that they championed turned out to be a bad decision, they're reluctant to just come and say, I'm sorry, or I was wrong. And I bring that up because I think it was either yesterday or the day before yesterday, Bill Clinton was speaking in Pennsylvania, and a group of the Black Lives Matter protesters interrupted him during a speech. It was only a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them. And remember what it means to be a protester. To be a protester, it automatically means you're going to be disruptive. It doesn't mean that you have to be disruptive in a violent way, obviously, but it does mean to disrupt. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. That's why it's a protest. Well, they were really getting on the former President Clinton because of his crime bill in 1994 that led to the mass incarceration of many minorities. It really adversely affected the African American and Latino communities. And for us who lived through the 90s and the way it's impacted our communities, the way it's impacted our families, the way it's impacted my family, it was not a good time for us. There was disproportionate amounts of heavy sentencing going towards minorities for minor crimes, and it really played a huge role in destabilizing the family in these communities.
Was that part of the 3 strikes you're out?
The 3 strikes and you're out law is a state issue.
Deal? Okay.
But in regards to the federal crime bill, there were very heavy sentences put on offenders, that nonviolent offenders. If it was a drug offense, it was a mandatory 5 or 10 year sentence. I know a very good friend of mine who will go unnamed, but great guy. But because of poverty, he decided to try to sell drugs. And because he tried to sell drugs and got caught, he ended up getting sentenced to 20 years.
For selling a dime bag or something ridiculous. Right?
It was crazy. And so now, looking back on that time, we can look back as Monday morning quarterbacks and with 20/20 vision and see that there was a downside to that crime bill. that it did adversely affect minority communities. And I'm sure that wasn't intended. And if it was intended, shame on you, Mr. Clinton. But if it wasn't intended and this was just an adverse effect, then admit to it and just apologize. Say it had effects that they didn't foresee and just apologize. But instead, he tried to yell down the protesters, pretty much getting into the mud with them, saying that, something to the effect, the very lives that you say matter were you weren't. It seems as if you're not championing or feeling sorry for them because the drug kingpin that was out there getting kids all hopped up on crack, and those kids would go out and murder another black teen. His entire
response,
the structure of his argument was ill-advised. He should not have gone there. For one, it's really off-putting to hear someone saying hopped up on crack, for one. For two, it doesn't take into account, we're not saying that we're anti, going after the criminal. What we were saying, our problem was that it was disproportionately affecting minority communities in regards to the harsh sentences.
Right.
Overly harsh sentences for nonviolent crimes. If there's something that was a violent crime, fine, do what you got to do. But nonviolent crimes, nonviolent drug offenses, doing time as if they were out, performing some sort of mass murder was not right.
No, and it could have been something as simple as selling marijuana, which is legal in many states now.
Yeah, and that's
people
crazy.
Got 20 years.
People got 20 years for selling marijuana, and marijuana is legal here now.
That's crazy.
So, and what it did to these communities,
take fathers out of the home.
It took fathers out of the homes. Again, it broke up families. It just had, and this is coming from a Democrat,
right?
So, that entire it brought me back to a part of my life, because I grew up in the 90s.
Right.
I graduated from high school in 1990, and I was in college during this time. But there's a time in a young man's life when you start to kind of separate from your childhood friends, many of them. When, once puberty hits and you get off on your own, some of you leave to go off to college, some of you don't. And so life starts to take its course. And you can see, based on the decisions that are made, how some lives go one way and some lives go another. Mm-hmm. But that decade was not a good decade to slip up in.
No.
Because if you're trying to find yourself as a young man, like most young men were, that do, I shouldn't say were, but do, you have very little room for any sort of error, wherein back in another time, maybe you get a slap on the wrist like, listen, you don't need to do this. Back then, if you made a mild mistake like that, you end up getting 10 years, which totally affects your life in a negative way going forward. And so for something like that, it's
so he
okay.
needs to apologize and say
he should have. That was a perfect opportunity for him to pretty much show his the stature of his person, of who he is, and people would have ingratiated themselves towards him more, maybe even towards his wife, to be like a real genuine human moment and say, this was wrong.
Right.
But instead, it comes off as if he's trying to defend his record, defend his policies, defend his term in office, when he supposedly was supposed to be up there trying to promote his wife as president.
There's not many politicians. There's not many politicians that apologize these days.
I know, and that's and some of them should. Now I could see, like,
it's okay. It's human to make mistakes.
Well, if you're in office and you're seeking re-election,
then I can understand maybe
sometimes the pragmatic view would be maybe I shouldn't apologize. Maybe I shouldn't, because people are just going to just pile on.
Right.
But when you're out of office and your legacy is already set and the evidence is right there for everyone to see about the effects of what you've done, same way I think that George W. Bush at some point should
apologize for a lot of things, but I don't think
he should apologize about the decision to go into Iraq.
He should just write a letter to America, as many things he needs to apologize for.
I think that this is something that's missing, and some of it could be the power and the ego that goes into that position. And of course you have to have a sizable ego to think that you alone, have all the answers.
Talk
that
about
you
apologies.
should lead the free world, you alone. And so I understand the pride thing that comes with it, but if it's after the fact and you're truly being reflective, I don't see any real problems in you. I mean, it's something. Some things are subjective, but then some things are just concrete bad decisions.
Yeah.
If you look back on what happened with us going into Iraq, that's just a bad decision.
Yeah, that's the world view on that is a bad decision. But
yeah, it's a world. I don't know of any rational person that can legitimately say that going into Iraq and the way we handled it was good for us. I don't know of anyone. I think that.
Well, they still try to cover it up, though.
Trying to cover it up
decision.
is, trying to save face.
Yeah.
It's human nature, trying to, cover up whatever. If there were any other reasons besides weapons of mass destruction, let's just say that, there's a rumor saying that they knew there were no weapons of mass destruction. They just wanted to go there either for the oil, either because Iraq was going to start putting this oil out on the market, but they were going to peg it to the euro as opposed to the dollar. And that would there's only 4 reserve currencies in the world. And if the second largest oil reserve in the world, I guess Iraq has the second largest untapped oil reserve in the world. And if that was to be pegged to the euro as opposed to the dollar, which the Saudi oil is pegged to the dollar,
yeah.
then it would kind of make America lose some of its financial luster on the world market as being a reserve currency. So it's all these little other reasons that you hear about. The peak oil theory. I don't know if you heard about the peak oil theory.
No.
The peak oil theory, there's a great book called American Theocracy by Kevin Phillips that I read years ago. The peak oil theory is this, and I think it's somewhat been debunked now. So it says that there's only so much oil underground.
Right.
It's a finite resource. There's only so much of it. And so there's an amount, there's a level you get to wherein you have to put more energy into drilling than what you can pull out, than what you can extract.
Uh-huh.
So that means the amount of energy that you have to put into finding it exceeds the
return,
the alpha, the
return on your investment.
And so, and there's a point now in many of these oil-rich countries where they reached that peak oil, wherein now it's to a point where the production and the drilling and the mining and the finding of oil has now, the cost of that has exceeded what the output is.
Right.
And then if you think about the low oil prices that happen, that
where not here. What do you mean the
barrel
prices?
The
price per barrel.
The price per barrel.
Yeah,
the
per barrel,
global oil market
right.
had been down for a while.
Correct. Yeah.
Which put a lot of people out of work, and it also put a lot of economies in a bad situation, like Russia.
Mm-hmm.
Russia was depending on oil revenue.
It made the Saudis think about taking it public.
Well, the Saudis, what they're going to do, they've been smart. The Saudis, they've started their own sovereign wealth fund, which essentially they're going to basically try to switch their economy from being solely an oil-based economy and try to make themselves a financial hub and diversify.
Which they need to do because
absolutely, because
the writing's on the wall.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
but they've had so much money for so long. The fact that they have invested that money in other sectors, and that's how they're going to drive their GDP now, not just totally have it dependent upon oil.
They got about 25
smart.
years to get that up and rolling.
It may not take that long.
May not, because Tesla is right on the verge of creating some really super technology in terms of eliminating the combustion engine and going with battery-operated vehicles.
Oh, you mean in regards to the demand on oil?
Yeah.
But when we think of oil in our cars, and true, that's the expensive stuff when it goes into our cars and when it goes to
America
jet
tractors
fuel and things of that sort. Yeah, and the oil
Farmers.
that's used in the manufacturing process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's also oils that, petroleum is in the plastics.
Correct.
And is in lotion, there's oil, in cosmetics, and there's so many things that gasoline is just one product that's derived from petroleum, from oil.
Well, too, you have kerosene.
Yeah. Gasoline, but gasoline is just one of the
Right.
one of the many products that are essentially carbon based in regards to oil and things of that sort. And so when you think about it like that, and it's always going to be a need for it. It's always going to be a need for oil. There may not be a need for gasoline,
right?
But there will be a need for oil.
Correct. But the demand from the Saudi standpoint,
exactly.
Is gonna,
but so the amount of its GDP dependent upon its oil revenues will probably decrease over time because they've decided to diversify, which is smart.
It's smart that they start looking at diversifying.
Smart. Now, when all that side route to just come back to
Bill apologize.
Apologize.
Yeah.
Bill apologize. Donald Trump won't apologize. He'll talk about somebody's wife.
Well, sometimes
he'll say something.
Has he ever apologized? No, Donald Trump has never apologized. Has he?
No, there's so many of them.
Speaking of apologies and men going to prison that for convictions of 3 strikes or whatever it is. There's a man that was wrongly convicted in a Brooklyn murder case, and he got 25 years, and they convicted him all on bite marks on the woman. Apparently, he raped a woman, killed her and her husband, and they found out that he was not guilty. So they let him out today or yesterday.
Without telling me he was a black guy, right?
He was a black guy. Of course, he was a black guy, and so they didn't do any DNA testing or anything like that. So, he was wrongly convicted and he got out. And so, I was looking that up. I Googled it today because I had heard about it on the news. And do you know how many cases are like that? How many black men have been locked up?
That's why.
And 25, 30 years later have been freed.
You know what?
And can you imagine?
A lot of people are really into this OJ, the People versus OJ Simpson. the miniseries. And watching that, I think that people of our generation get it and people before us get it. It was not about OJ.
No. Yeah, we talked
about it. We spoke about it. It was about what that represented. We know in our lives and we know culturally, that's the perfect example, and that's only one.
Right.
But it's been so many cases where primarily African Americans or minorities have been sent to jails and prisons for obscene amounts of years or have been killed.
Ron, I just Googled man wrongly convicted, and there were just pages and pages and pages, and they were all black men.
And so it's a inherent distrust of the judicial system that people were revolting against when the whole OJ thing happened.
Right.
That's what it was. It wasn't about OJ. People give a damn about OJ,
That's correct.
Orange juice or the Hertz commercials.
Yeah, we were rejoicing
because he wasn't very active in the community at all. But it had to do with what it represented for years. When you think about Emmett Till, if you think about even Rodney King, if you think about things that have happened in the past,
go back to civil rights, just all those times.
It was civil rights.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So
apologize, Bill.
Apologize, Bill.
We love you anyway. It's not going to change the way we
W.
feel about you.
Apologize. It's okay. I would love that one politician, once all of the facts are disclosed and sitting in his face where the evidence is right there and it's not subjective, it's purely empirical, and it's obvious that this thing led to this thing and you were wrong in that decision. Yeah. For him to say, about this, I was wrong.
Right. That would be huge.
I acted on the information I had at the time, and I had to make a decision, and I made the decision, and it turns out that it was the wrong decision.
Yeah.
That would be huge.
That would be huge, and I'd like to hear him say that.
Helping to mend his legacy.
In addition to that, the 3 strikes rule we have here in California, that's still in place.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, if you're a guy and you're in the hood and you're trying to hustle, you don't have a great education, and you're just trying to make ends meet, and you're selling, whatever it is. You might have gotten hit and run, let's say, was your first offense. I don't know if that's qualifies, but certainly selling drugs, dime bag, nickel bag, whatever. And 3 strikes, you can make 3 mistakes. Maybe you had a domestic battery. You were drinking too much, you and your wife fought. And then you, did something else stupid. And the 3rd strike, boom, you get 20 years mandatory. And of course, you can, the folks that are overwhelmingly affected by that are, again, African Americans. So it's
and you got to think about this too. And I said this before on the show. The vast majority of crimes are poverty induced.
Right.
Now we're always going to have those sociopaths and those psychopaths, those people that need to be behind bars. If you have Jeffrey Dahmer, if you have this other, people who are legitimately bad seeds that need to be dealt with, those guys are going to be out in society.
Yeah. And they need
but
to be
the
jailed.
vast majority of
Prison.
people don't fit that description. The vast majority of people who have committed crimes or something have done so out of desperation and poverty. I truly believe that there's a direct correlation between poverty and crime. And if you give people the opportunity, number one, to be educated, number two, access to something that makes them feel better about themselves, meaning in life, being able to support their families. And I should put it like this, the opportunity to support their family. Because if you have someone who's too lazy to do something, that person's probably too lazy to commit a crime too. You know what I'm saying?
They just need a path to success.
Exactly. Give people options, because when people have no options, when they feel hopeless, that's when they do desperate things.
That's correct.
Desperate things start with you stealing something from the corner store.
Right.
Desperate things.
That's one strike.
And then you can get to a point where now you feel like you need to rob someone. You know, it's all these things that start with desperation. Again, the psychopaths, the murderers, the rapists, the child predators, those people need to be dealt with. But the stuff that needs to that is more correlated with poverty, I think we should be able to do something about that as a society. And I actually think that's one of the reasons why Bernie Sanders, his message is really catching on. So
yeah,
they've been getting, the media is they disappoint me. They've been disappointing me for a long time. There's only a few that I actually listen to. I actually like listening to BBC, and of course I love Fareed Zakaria. He's like one of the best. And I like Bill Maher as well, because he's
hilarious.
Yeah, he's hilarious, and he just says the stuff that's obvious. But the media in New York has been trying to make it such a big deal about whether or not Hillary Clinton thinks that Bernie Sanders is qualified to be president and vice versa. So they got into
because he said she wasn't qualified. So
well, first she said it was him, supposedly through a surrogate, and then she just kind of didn't disavow the statement, and then it came out that he said, well, no, actually you're not. So it's like kid stuff, and the media just loves it. You know, they just flat out ask, do you think he's qualified to be president? Well, more qualified than you are for asking that silly question. The simple fact that they are there, you're talking about two people that obviously held political office, starting off as a mayor. And
this is where our politics has gone.
It's
now.
crazy. And I mean, that's such a stupid argument if you think about it.
It's not even an argument.
He's been in Congress he's been a senator for how many years? And he was the mayor. I mean, he's been a politician. She's been a secretary of state. She's been, a senator as well. They're both qualified. So why would you even think that? Why would you even try to egg that on to try to instigate a little fight over something so minor? Is it because you want to make this more exciting?
I think the news or the media has finally gotten smart, and they're not. Trump is not on as much as he used to be, right? It's not always every time you turn on. That's a good point. You don't see Trump that much anymore. So they're trying to really kind of create some other buzz, and they're reaching and grasping for straws right now.
So they wanna stir up controversy to keep eyeballs on the screen.
I think they realize it is their responsibility, and the media is, I'm referring to the media, is their responsibility to make sure that Donald Trump does not get the nominee. I mean, it's partially their fault if he does, because they give him so much free press. And I think, the controllers of the media group or whoever they may be have finally sat down together and said, listen, guys, we gotta stop this. We're putting this guy on Front Street every day and giving him a platform. And so you don't see him as much as you did in the past, because I think people are getting down to the point where they're saying,
how do you feel about the fact that they have the power to essentially frame a narrative to decide?
Well, that's why Rupert Murdoch is so powerful.
Yeah, but if you really think about it, is that truly democratic?
No,
okay,
it's not
like
truly
this. Let's just say that
they also control the papers.
Yeah, so let's just say that we had a fourth candidate out there. That had the most powerful message. A message of how we can just end nuclear proliferation. How we could solve the terrorist threat coming from ISIS. That had all these great policy ideas.
I wish it
but
was,
we would never hear about it because
Yeah, it's not just about the message. He's got to have some type of edge or something that's going to
has to be something
draw viewers.
Draw viewers, because that's the only thing, and it can't just be the message.
Can't be the message.
Because if you think about it common sense wise, you would think that even John Kasich, who I don't think has any chance, and he's not a perfect candidate.
He's got a great message.
But compared to Trump and Ted Cruz, he's the more viable option in regards to a pragmatic, practical approach to politics and his mainstream appeal.
Right.
He's not as polarizing.
He and Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
You would think those two would be all over the media.
Yeah. So, Bernie Sanders, I can understand a little bit of the hesitation with Bernie Sanders just because what we put on that label of him being a democratic socialist.
Yeah.
That word socialist brings up some stuff from a Cold War bygone era. So, you think socialist, you automatically think communism, all that type of
he's
stuff.
Not a socialist.
I think some sort of Latin American leftist or something like that. But he's not that. But I can
your
understand
point,
how
though, the messages are
Kasich's message deserves more, but he doesn't get the time.
No, he won't get the time. He's not edgy enough. He's not.
No, it's not. He's too blah.
He's not going to bring the ratings.
Exactly.
Advertisers don't want to back up a Kasich,
exactly.
show. So,
well, he's staying in there. Like I said, if I had to, I'm not saying that I would have Kasich for president, but I'm saying like if I were a Republican, he's the one I would want to represent me. Now, what I've noticed is that some of the media, they will actively admit that they want a contested convention.
Oh yeah, they're
so
going to get a broker.
Me?
They're going to get a broker.
That tells me is that since they admit it, that means that Donald Trump, they're going to be more pro Cruz now.
Yeah. Donald Trump he's not, if it goes to a broker convention, he is not going to be the one who gets the nominee.
So how do you think that
the nomination?
How do you think that ends? Does it end with him splintering and forming a third party, which ruptures the Republican Party?
I think so. I think if I'm Trump, and they disavow me and they choose Cruz, and I'm leading with the delegate count, and now I would certainly go out and start a third party, and that would split the votes, and the Republicans most certainly not win, because the votes would be split between Cruz and Trump.
I also think that the quote-unquote establishment that's backing up Cruz right now, it's not because they like Cruz. It's just because they're so anti-Trump. Now, I heard this, and this is really Machiavellian.
He's the best of two evils.
But it may be the case. But this is what I've heard. I've heard that since they don't want Cruz, they just want him to do well enough to keep Donald Trump from reaching the required delegate count. Obviously, Cruz won't have it.
Right.
That means it's a free-for-all once they get to a contested broker convention. And if they get there, then they may put someone else that they rather have, like maybe a Paul Ryan, who's the current Speaker of the House. I doubt it would be Mitt Romney, but maybe Mitt Romney.
I see Mitt before Paul Ryan.
I actually see Paul Ryan before Mitt. The reason why I say that is because Mitt lost already. And so
that's a good point.
They know his weak spots and things of that sort. So Mitt lost already. But Paul Ryan has it, and he's young, fresh-faced, and if you have him going against a Hillary Clinton, who's older representative and things of that sort, so
listen, it's going to be. I mean, it's exciting to kind of speculate what might happen. Outside of the writing and everything, Trump claimed that he doesn't support in response to him not being the delegate, but I really think that we're going to see some things that have never occurred before in the history of politics. Now, who do you think Trump would choose as his running mate if he did get the become?
Well, I know who it could be.
You think Sarah Palin?
No, it couldn't be Sarah Palin. She's a loose cannon. It's a guaranteed loss if he chose Sarah Palin. He would have to choose someone who is more pro-establishment, someone who the establishment can say, okay, we can actually buy this now, because he kind of puts a chaser on Trump. Trump is just straight vodka, and they want a chaser, and so they need something to kind of mellow him out a bit. And I don't see it being Chris Christie, just because they're both too volatile. At least their reputations are. I can see maybe Kasich.
I think Kasich would be a good choice.
I think Kasich would be a possible choice, because he's governed. But that's not a very exciting ticket. But it is in regards to
it's Trump, so
exactly. Well, you got a point there. I think even more important or equally important is trying to determine who Hillary would choose.
Yeah, that's pretty wide open.
I don't know who she would choose.
I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Before we go any further, I want to do a little identification. I got to let everybody know about my primary sponsor. I heard last week when I introduced my sponsor, we had some scotch sitting up here, and I said it's expensive as hell.
I think you said something like that.
I said something like that.
You said the price is way too high. You need to cut it.
I didn't say that.
I said that.
No, but they are great watches. Zhivago watches, everyone. I got to show this one. Zhivago watches. Boom.
Gorgeous watches.
You should see at the bottom of your screen, you should see the let's go to their site, check out their varieties of watches, both men's and women's fashions. They're great timepieces. They are elegant. They can be pricey.
Yeah, well, everything of value is, just got to have.
That's true. It's worth the value.
Yeah,
but also, if you go to the site and look at whichever style you like, then from there go to Amazon. And if you go to Amazon, you may be able to find that same style, but at a discount. So www.zhivagowatches.com. Again, www.zhivagowatches.com. And if you guys like to call in, thank you so much for the emails you've been sending me. It's been great. I try to read as many of them as I can. I travel quite a bit for what I do for a living, and
we're gonna shout them out.
I'm so busy, but I try to read as many of the emails as I can. I'm going to start responding to them too. So if you want to email me, you can email me at ronnie.frierson@gmail.com, and a subject line put focus. Again, ronnie.frierson@gmail.com.
That's IE, right?
IE. And the subject line put focus, so I know what you're reaching me about. And if you want to call into the show, you can reach us at area code 323-843-2826. Again, 323-843-2826. So I wanted to bring up more of this Bernie Hillary thing. So there are currently Hillary Clinton has 1,280 delegates. Bernie Sanders has 1,030 delegates. They're pretty doggone close.
They're pretty close. I guess the stats read that he's really the likelihood. I think he's got to win like 80% of the last few states. He's won I think 7 of the last 8 contests. He sure has, but the delegate count is smaller.
Well, the delegate count. Well, the reason why she has such a large lead is because of the superdelegates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she has 469 superdelegates. He only has 31 at this point.
How close is she to getting the nomination? How many more does she need?
I'm not certain what the total number is. I can look that up.
12 to 37, I think, for Republicans.
But if the momentum goes his way, and if the superdelegates, which I understand that the Sanders campaign is really courting those superdelegates to get them to switch over to his side. Also, you got to think about, let's say in California. California has, I want to say, 150, 160 or something like that delegates. Yeah. New York has 95. California is the most populous state in the country, California and Texas. If he wins California, which he could likely do, that's huge.
Yeah, it's big.
With his message,
and the polls say that they're pretty close.
And if he were to win California, I think that some of those superdelegates would start to look at the kind of tarnished image that Hillary has, in dealing with this. I don't understand why people hate her so much. I was talking to a friend of mine at lunch today, and he was telling me about, how he thinks that she has something to do with, leaving those soldiers in Benghazi. I don't know about all that, but they've put so much on her. They've thrown so much on her that, some of it may stick. And if some of it sticks, then who knows what could happen. Who knows?
Look, I like Clinton. I think, being a part of the establishment in terms of the Clinton family, she may be able to get some things done that a Bernie Sanders would not be able to get done. He's got great ideas, but he's not going to be able to walk in and do anything. He's going to have his hands are going to be tied like Obama's hands were tied, unless the Congress changes in the next voting session. But I think she's the strongest candidate for the Democratic Party to win the election. bar none.
Yeah.
With Bernie Sanders, there's some questions about it. I'm not really certain that has a strong enough following. I do like Bernie. I do like his points and his strategy and some of the things that he's running on.
Yeah, I keep going back and forth. I still think Hillary Clinton is the more practical, but the more time that passes, and I see the way Bernie's standing up and the power of his campaign, I could see it, starting to gather steam.
Yeah, he needs a makeover though.
What kind of makeover?
Well, he needs a Woody Wilson makeover for sure, for certain. But I'm just his hair and his teeth.
That's part of his shtick. That's part of the reason people like him. Is
Colgate
because
white strips or something.
Yeah, but that's part of him. It's like he's like looks like somebody's algebra teacher or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's got to do something.
Yeah, but how old is he? He's like 70 something.
700.
They said if he's elected, he will be going into the presidency as the oldest president ever elected.
Well, he's all there, obviously, just like our governor here in California, who's on his third term as governor.
Oh, Larry Brown.
Larry Brown. Yeah. And he seems to be, he's got the energy. And look, he's traveling all over the world. I mean, he's got more energy than I do. I don't know what they give those guys, but I don't know. I like him. I just wish he looked a little more healthy.
Who, Bernie?
Yeah.
Bernie looks unhealthy?
He looks his age. I guess I guess there's nothing wrong with looking your age, but I want a president that's kind of got a little vigor.
But
maybe Obama spoiled me a little bit.
If you got $1 on you, why don't you pull out a picture of George Washington? And, just.
Well, they looked old at 40 though back then.
Yeah, that's true. But maybe he's
and Lincoln had
70 is what 40 was back then. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really get caught up in that too much.
You shouldn't, right?
Yeah,
you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. You should look at the content and judge it by that.
I say that, and I agree with that. But then there's some people who, Bernie looks trustworthy. He just looks like, I don't have time to lie to you, young man. Let me tell you the real and just say, this is what we're going to do with him. But then you look at Ted Cruz, he looks
like Sly Fox,
untrustworthy.
Man.
He just looks like.
He does.
And then he went up to New York. After he had said all that stuff about New York values, and he went up to the Bronx and he was up there campaigning, and they kind of ran him out of there. They said, "What are you doing in the Bronx? Do you have your papers, your passport to be in the Bronx, since you want everybody else to have passports and all that kind of? Not passports, but their legal documentation to prove that they belong. It's just a whole lot of stuff. And this is the first time I heard him speak Spanish. He's of Cuban descent.
That's right. He
descent.
spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
Wow.
He spoke Spanish, which surprised me because he seems like the type that would kind of run away.
He should have done that a long time ago. He should have been doing that in Florida. I didn't see any clips.
Well, it's hard for him to do that at the same time as he's saying, he wants stronger immigration laws and talking about.
But there's something wrong with a man's character if you do not show everyone who you are in totality.
There you go.
If you're hiding something, which if you're not speaking in Spanish in Florida, certainly,
exactly,
in Texas,
exactly,
and
he's from Texas.
He's from Texas. Then you're hiding something. Your advisors are telling you, wait a minute, don't do it yet, because there may be a negative.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which I don't understand.
And I don't even, he may be the nicest dude. I've told you that. I've heard stories that he's not.
Yeah, you told me that story about Harvard when he was gambling.
At Princeton. At Princeton, when he just snitched.
Oh, man.
He pulled a D. Russell on him. Just snitched and just told everybody that about the illegal poker game that was going on.
I wonder if my brother was in that game.
And he didn't want to pay his tab. That's,
No, he's
one of those dudes. I don't know. So listen, I understand that you got some words from me today.
Yeah.
So
so for those of you who've been listening, all the listeners know we go through this program we call
Word to Your Mother.
That's right on cue. Thank you, Jarvis.
He was ready too.
He was right on point. So Ron Frierson is quite the wordsmith. So
I'm tired today too, but it don't matter.
So I come up with 5 words each week and have him spell them, or I'll spell them for him, and he'll give me the pronunciation and the definition. And so far he's been batting probably about 80%, I would say.
What do you say, Jarvis? About 80?
About 80, see? That's about right on point.
I thought it was higher than that, actually.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
You ready, Jarvis? You know Jarvis likes pressing that buzzer.
I know, huh?
He be
He's all
scared.
slow with when I'm right, but when I'm wrong, he's on it quick.
All
He
right.
said I need to come to the mic. All right, I'm here.
Impetuous. Impetuous.
Impetuous?
Impetuous.
Oh, that's easy. That's like Mike Tyson. You see that word all the time? I'm impetuous.
impetuous.
No chill, like forceful, like heartless, just going in. That's like impetuous. Is that?
Yeah, undue haste and lack of thought. So
yeah,
just
go
going in
acting
without thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
Word to your mother.
Remember Mike Tyson used to say that word all the time? Impetuous.
Yeah.
Impetuous. I want to eat his children.
I'm going to bite his ear
Exactly.
and spit it out. Okay. Iconoclast. Iconoclast.
Yeah, I know. That's like just a disruptor. Like it just changes the natural order of things. Just a disruptor.
Yeah. Someone who attacks cherished ideas or institutions.
There you go.
Yeah.
Word to your mother.
Look, Jar.
Word to your mother.
Woo.
Idiosyncratic. IDIOSYNCRATIC.
I know how to spell it.
Okay, my man. Well, go ahead. You
It's
should have just spelled it then.
I know. I just like to hear.
All right, I'll give you that opportunity. On the next one.
Okay. Well, it's basically something that's unique, one of a kind, right?
Yes, to the individual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Word to your mother.
Word to your mother. Okay. IMPECUNIOUS.
I have no clue.
IMPECUNIOUS. You want
Pronounce it for me, Woody.
that's your job.
No.
That's your job.
Im-
IMPECUNIOUS.
Impecunious.
You say impecunious.
Impecunious.
And that's a dinosaur, man. What are you talking about?
Is it a dinosaur?
No.
I don't know what it means. It could have been a dinosaur. You'd have had me leaving here thinking that meant dinosaur.
Not having enough money to pay for necessities.
Now, you know what?
What?
If you don't have enough money
you.
to pay for necessities,
You broke.
just broke.
Exactly.
That's impecunious. Who? I've never heard a person ask for money on the street. Say, listen, I'm
And if they
very
broke, they probably
impecunious
don't.
right now.
Yeah, right.
I'm extremely impecunious, right? I mean, come on, man. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Maybe that's okay. I was about to say something.
Go
keep it to
ahead.
myself.
Say it.
No, it's all right.
INCON. I'll start again so you can write this down.
Okay.
INCONTROVERTIBL.
Incontrovertible.
Incontrovertible.
That's without a doubt, without question, man. It's incontrovertible.
Impossible to deny or disprove.
My brother tells you.
Word to your mother.
Word to your
You know
mother.
what? We need more. See, because it seems to me like when the buzzer goes off, it's at least 3 seconds.
You need
But
more
when
word to
I
your
get
mother.
it correct and word to your mother goes off, it's like
Can we get a little beat on word to your mother?
0.3 seconds.
No, he got one wrong. There you go. Let's give him a little word to the mother so he feels good.
We got to,
Word
yeah.
to
We're gonna have to somehow. We're gonna have to chop
There you
it.
go. That's just for
chop
you.
and screw. Yeah.
That's for you right there, Ron. Bob your head.
But it
Bob
doesn't
and
sound
weave.
right when we say ice, baby. That's kind of corny. I just like the
Hey,
word
man.
to your mother part because it says word.
That was the
What
cut.
other like? What else could we put in? Like not word up.
There's
by
a Marvin
Cameo.
Gaye song.
Which one?
Uh,
Which one?
oh, I can't think of it right now.
That's
I'll
too
do some research.
with
I'll come up with
word in it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a good thing to ask our listeners. Listeners, if you guys have any ideas for the Cameo word up,
Word up. See, that's
Yeah.
the one I was.
that's
saying
I was
in the
thinking
beginning.
word up too.
Yeah.
I was thinking word up, but I was thinking about something a little more current
But
because
we tried to do. We were talking about word up. You switched to ice, baby.
I said word to your mother. I don't remember that.
Word to your mother. I mean, okay, well, whatever. But I mean, listen. Let's see what
we
the
talking
listeners.
about word up a Cameo.
Let's vote on it on the
Word
web.
up.
We'll put it on the Facebook page, and everybody vote on it.
Yeah. So if you guys can think of something, my mind is going right now. I'm trying to think of some song that has where I guess word is only as long as it is word.
Word to your mother.
What if it was a song that said word, 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 word? That's what I would like, but it's not a song that says that. Unless you cut one, Woody.
What?
Let's go in the studio and make this album.
Yeah.
And we'll have our boy Francis Jaway go in there and make us a song.
Oh, he'll tear it up.
He'll tear it up.
Hey, man, but you know American Idol, the last show of American Idol. Did you watch it?
No, I didn't watch that bull. No.
You know what,
I
though,
haven't
man?
watched American Idol since what's the name?
Ruben Studdard. Yeah. But remember
Yeah.
that dude, Brian Dunkelman?
No.
He was on the show. He was one of the hosts with your guy, what's his name? Come on.
With Simon Cowell?
No, the host of the show.
Ryan
Seacrest. Yeah, it was Ryan Seacrest and Brian Dunkelman. He had two hosts in the beginning.
Really? I don't remember that.
And Brian Dunkelman wanted to be an actor, so he didn't think the show was going to be successful. He was making $17,000 a week as the host with Ryan Seacrest, and he quit.
I'm going to look this up. Brian
And
Dunkelman.
Yeah, and so, he's still alive. He hasn't committed suicide or anything. But he had just sobered up. He had gone through rehab. He had just sobered up. He was a year and a half clean.
Mm-hmm.
He got the show, but he really wanted to act, and he bypassed the $17,000 a week and quit the show. And Ryan Seacrest,
$17,000 a week
in the beginning, and according to him, it was low for the scale for that type of gig.
So just picture how much Ryan Seacrest is making throughout the years.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, $17,000 a week.
$17,000 a week.
That's obviously pre-tax.
So that was Brian Dunkelman.
Wow, damn, really?
Yeah.
Well, on something that's completely, turning the page, and me, I have to get into something a little more serious. I understand that they've made some mass arrests over in Belgium and picking up some other terrorists that were possibly involved. I shouldn't say they're automatically terrorists, but they're people that are possibly involved with the bombing at the airport in Brussels.
They think they found the guy with that hat on, that dark.
They found him.
Hat. Yeah.
This day and age, no one can go undetected. There's phones and cameras on everywhere. The world is so small now that no one's going to go. So anyone out there that's stupid enough to try something like this and think they're going to get away with it is one thing. They do it and they know they're going to kill themselves during the act. But do you think that somehow they're going to be able to do it and walk away from it? You're dumber than anyone. You're actually dumber than the person that blows themselves
Well,
up.
he didn't. I don't think they tried to blow themselves up and die. I think his malfunctioned and he tried to get away. But the bottom line is
his malfunction and he tried to get away.
Yeah. But the bottom line is you're going to get caught. You cheat, you're going to get caught. What comedian said that? That was Chris Rock, right? Yeah. You cheat, you try to blow somebody up, you kill them, you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught regardless.
Yeah.
Just do the right thing, people.
Yeah. The thing is that, we haven't heard much about that because we're caught up in, that's the one, one of the good things in many respects about being America is that we're a world unto ourselves. And many other countries look at us, at our news. They know what's going on in our everyday news as opposed to us knowing what's going on in their everyday news. It has to be something extraordinary that happens in Brussels or in London, Spain, or whatever. We don't really keep track as much unless it's the royal family in the UK. We don't really keep track of their celebrity culture in the UK or in these other places. But everybody knows what's going on here. The world knows
and everybody
what's
wants
going
to
on
come
in the
here.
United States.
Yeah.
I mean, the people around the world know who Kanye West is. They know about Kim Kardashian. They know about the whole soap opera. They know about Donald Trump. When was the last time you truly paid attention to another country's election of their prime minister or their president or their leader, whoever it is?
Well, it just shows you that they have high regard for the United States of America.
Very much so.
And with that responsibility.
Exactly. There's responsibility that comes with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we've had friends of ours that have called the show from as far away as Australia, and they keep track. And you got to think about it, too. They know who's run. This is still a primary process. This is not for the general election. This is not for all the marbles. This is for who's going to represent the Republicans or the Democrats. And people around the world know who's running on both sides.
Right.
It's like knowing a semifinal game. It's crazy. So that being said, like you said, there's so much responsibility on our shoulders to be sure that we elect a person worthy of that type of responsibility.
And we don't take over a country and say there's weapons of mass destruction.
In my estimation, in my humble opinion, I think that we did a great job in President Obama.
I think he's going to go down as one of the best presidents in history. Mark my words, you heard it here first.
Yeah.
He will be the greatest president to date.
You think he'll get this
sort of accomplishments?
Do you think he will get the same sort of adulation that the Republicans give Ronald Reagan.
No, but I think 20 years from now, I think the whole country will give him the adulation that
I think so too.
no other president has ever gotten.
I think no other president in modern times.
Correct.
I mean,
besides
there's
like
certain,
Lincoln and Washington.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that he may be up there at some point. He could possibly be up there with maybe. Well, Kennedy. One thing about Kennedy is he's idealized because he's martyred, because he died before his time.
He needs his face.
I think he'll be up
money.
there because he's the first black president, especially. And you think about this country's history and everything we're going through, and how the powers that be that were pretty much against him. That as time goes on, you can't stop this train called progress.
That's another reason why people look towards America, because we elected an African American, which they never thought would happen.
Yeah,
because
and
we did it.
We have a,
and people say only in America where democracy.
But this is weird.
true and free.
This is why it's weird. Some other countries criticize the United States because of slavery and because of the racial injustice and things of that sort. And a lot of countries know about that. But then at the same time, they like the United States in regards to how we seem to be.
It's what we've become.
Yeah. And I remember, and sometimes, and with us, we're like a different breed. Because when we are in some of these other countries, they think that all of us are like Will Smith or Michael Jordan or something. They think like,
and we all know each other.
And we all know each other. Well, we get some of that here.
I'd be lying. Yeah, I know Will. What's up?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's really for anyone who's traveled outside of the United States, especially people of color who may have traveled internationally, you'll know that you get a little bit. You get one or the other. You either get someone who's like, wow. And maybe in my skin it's a little bit different because I'm a tall guy and stuff like that. But it's just weird when you look at it.
Yeah.
From the outsider standpoint, the way we are treated abroad.
Yeah.
As Americans.
You mentioned Australia earlier, and I came across this really fun. I just find this so fascinating. This little tidbit of information I want to share with you. But you know how old the world is, right?
How old is the world?
It's very old, know. And so even after 250 years of professional documentation.
The world is older than 250 years.
No, but I'm saying
for
the last 250 years, right, we've been documenting new species of plants and animals, right? So how many do you think we discover? How many species of plants and animals do you think are discovered in the world on an annual basis?
I don't know.
15 to 18,000
new species.
New species of animals.
Wow.
Mostly insects.
Yeah.
Australia, Eastern China, Morocco, and Central Mexico are mainly the places where they're discovered.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible? And if you think about the ocean, the Indian Ocean, remember that plane went down in the Indian Ocean and I think went to the bottom? We didn't have the technology to search the bottom of the ocean. Just imagine what's in the ocean, because it's 70% of the world, right? The world is mostly made up of water.
Exactly.
So just imagine how many species of animals out there that we have not discovered yet.
That also means we have to also need to be aware of how many different types of diseases that could wipe us out because of that.
Correct.
Because you don't know if you're bitten by a mosquito or some relative of the mosquito that's an unheard of thing.
Zika, your head shrinks.
Your head shrinks like Beetlejuice and Kid.
Right. Imagine how many planets are out there.
Well, guys,
how many species on those planets. Could go on and on, Jarvis.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, guys, it's always a blast. Thank you again for starting off your weekend with us. We're going to be back at you next week. Keep the emails and stuff pouring in. We appreciate it. I'm going to ask Woody to start helping me read some of these things. And,
what's that? Emails?
Yeah, the emails.
Send them on over.
And thank you for your continued support. Until next week, love, peace, and hair grease. Love, peace, and soul, everybody. And if you tell your friends about us. Yes, tell your friends about us. The show's growing tremendously. The show is growing, and we appreciate all of your support. Continue to listen every Friday at 5 o'clock here on the Universal Broadcasting Network. Focus with Ron Frierson. So signing out. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Shout out to Francis McWilliams.